Today is Friday, November 3rd. What to know about Israeli troops surrounding the densely populated Gaza City and the latest from evacuation efforts into Egypt. Also, the man once known as a crypto king was found guilty and is now facing decades in prison. Plus, what's the latest on proposals to make daylight saving time permanent as we prepare for a time change this weekend? Which ingredient once used in popular drinks is no longer considered safe by the FDA? And who will soon become the only woman and youngest person to be hosting late-night network TV? Those stories and even more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Israeli troops are moving forward with what's expected to be a long, bloody war in Gaza, and the death toll is expected to grow even more on both sides. As of this morning, the Israeli forces have Gaza City surrounded. Gaza City is a cluster of Palestinian neighborhoods densely packed with civilians. But Israel says it's also the center of Hamas military infrastructure, with a vast network of underground tunnels, bunkers, and command centers. And it's just as determined as ever to destroy the Hamas terror group by whatever means necessary. The Israeli military says its troops are now fighting face-to-face battles with Hamas militants and still calling in airstrikes. Once again yesterday, Israel told Palestinians to evacuate, but many have nowhere to go, and hundreds of thousands of Palestinian civilians are still in the path of fighting. The future is uncertain for those who have evacuated, too. The UN says more than 1 million Gazans have been driven away from their homes, many of which are no longer standing. Schools and health facilities that have been used as shelters have been damaged and destroyed. And the United Nations says it has serious concerns that Israel's attacks are out of proportion to the Hamas attacks on October 7th that started this whole round of fighting. Meanwhile, hundreds more foreign nationals and severely injured Palestinians are getting out of Gaza, albeit slowly. They've been crossing into Egypt the last couple of days, with border guards calling out names of eligible civilians one by one. And Egypt's foreign ministry says it's preparing to receive about 7,000 foreigners when all is said and done, representing more than 60 countries. Dozens of Americans have already made it to safety. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Israel today, where he's expected to bring up President Biden's suggestion for brief pauses in fighting. And the White House says Israeli officials are already receptive to the idea, so to be continued. The U.S. Justice Department is sending federal money to beef up local law enforcement all around the country. This week, the DOJ announced it awarded $334 million in grants. Most of that will go to help hire more than 1,700 new officers in 48 states. But a good chunk of the money will go to help improve security on school campuses, with things like metal detectors, locks, lighting, and security cameras. And the rest will go to support crisis intervention teams, de-escalation training, and community policing strategies. Overall, the White House says the goals are to shore up trust in police and drive down violent crime. A former crypto king was found guilty for what prosecutors say was one of the biggest financial frauds in U.S. history. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried was convicted of stealing billions of dollars from customers of his now collapsed cryptocurrency exchange. Over the last month, prosecutors presented evidence and testimony from 18 witnesses, including some of SBF's closest former allies, who depicted him as a mastermind. The goal was to show SBF was the architect of a scheme to take FTX money to repay the debts of its sister hedge fund, Alameda Research. Prosecutors say he also used the money to bankroll risky investments, buy luxury real estate, and cover hundreds of millions of dollars in political donations. On the other side, SBF's defense team tried to argue their client was just an entrepreneur trying his best to build a business in an emerging industry that didn't have much regulation. And they say things just got messy along the way, especially as his deputies started taking their own risks. SBF also testified in his own defense, saying he never defrauded customers but regretted not having better risk management at FTX. Though under cross-examination, SBF said he couldn't remember or distanced himself from certain communications or documents, even after prosecutors got him to read some of them aloud. And all in all, he said he couldn't recall at least 140 times. The jury ended up siding with prosecutors after just a few hours of deliberating yesterday. SBF is set to be sentenced in March, and he could face decades in prison. You may get the chance for an extra hour of sleep on Sunday morning, or perhaps if you're a parent, be woken up extra early. Daylight saving time comes to an end Sunday morning, and our clocks fall back. Clocks in the U.S., with a few exceptions like Hawaii and most of Arizona, will be set back 1 hour at 2 a.m. on Sunday. And that means the sun will come out earlier in the morning and evenings will be darker sooner. Many medical experts say this is how we actually sleep best, so they want us to stay in this time zone permanently. But some lawmakers want to stay in daylight saving time permanently, since they say having more light in the evenings encourages people to go out, enjoy the sunshine after work and school, and spend money. And remember, last year, the Senate passed a bill to make that change. But it was never taken up in the House, since members at the time cited higher priorities. New bills have been introduced this year, but there haven't been any notable movement on those either. So it seems most of us will have to keep dealing with the time change twice a year for the foreseeable future, starting with this weekend. We have much more news for you coming up. But first, this episode is brought to you by Uncommon Goods. Uncommon Goods is going to make your holiday shopping both meaningful and stress-free. Truly, Uncommon Goods has the most thoughtful, wide-ranging, and out-of-the-ordinary gifts that I've ever seen in one place. So I love to browse for gift ideas, and then I choose my favorites. In fact, years ago, my husband bought me a wedding anniversary gift from Uncommon Goods that made me cry happy tears. It was this cute reel viewer that had our pictures and memories as I looked and clicked through it. They have all sorts of gifts that you can personalize just like that. But they also have fun and practical options too. And a lot of the items are supporting artists and small businesses, or are handmade or made in the US. My most recent purchase was this really nice-looking stoneware popcorn bowl with a secret compartment so you don't have to accidentally eat all those annoying kernels. And I love that Uncommon Goods shares all about the ceramist named Catherine Smith who designed it. Plus, you can get a discount. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/newsworthy. That's uncommongoods.com/newsworthy for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we are all out of the ordinary. Now back to the news. The American Cancer Society says more people should be getting screened for lung cancer. It says these days only a fraction of people who are at high risk are getting screened, even though it kills more people in the U.S. than breast, colorectal, and prostate cancers combined. So the ACS has new guidelines. They say people who have been smoking a pack a day for 20 years or more, or 2 packs a day for 10 years or more, should start getting low-dose CT scans every year starting at 50 years old, even if they quit a long time ago. That's a wider age group than before with a shorter smoking history. And the number of years since quitting is no longer a factor. The ACS says this will allow millions more people to become eligible for the scans that can detect tumors early enough to save lives. By the way, it seems more teenagers are avoiding some of this risk altogether. The CDC and FDA released their National Youth Tobacco Survey this week. It's based on self-reports from middle and high school students around the U.S. each year. And this time, high school students reported using less tobacco, and not just from cigarettes, but e-cigarettes too. The federal government says an ingredient that was once widely used in popular drinks needs to be banned. The FDA proposed a ban on brominated vegetable oil, saying it should no longer be considered safe, citing studies that found dangerous health effects like potential damage to the liver, heart, and brain. BVO used to be in drinks like Gatorade, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and more. The large companies already stopped using it, but it can still be found in smaller grocery store brands and some popular regional beverages like Sundrop. The FDA is going to accept public comments on the proposed ban until January. A major merger in the theme park world. Six Flags and Cedar Fair are joining forces, creating one of the largest theme park operators in North America. The deal combines more than 24 amusement parks, including fan favorites like Cedar Point in Ohio, as well as Magic Mountain and Knott's Berry Farm in California, along with 15 water parks and 9 resorts across 17 states and Canada and Mexico. The combined company will go with the Six Flags name for corporate, though executives say they'll respect the other strong regional brands. It might also mean better deals on tickets for you, like season passes that give you entry into more parks. So why the merge in the first place? Well, the theme park industry is still working to recover from pandemic losses when many parks were forced to close or operate with a lot of restrictions. This deal will also give them a chance to better compete against the likes of SeaWorld and Disney, but it still needs to be approved by regulators. Some of the biggest names in rock, hip-hop, country, and R&B are about to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame tonight. We're talking about Missy Elliott, Willie Nelson, Rage Against the Machine, Sheryl Crow, the late George Michael, and more. And a lot of other stars are going to be on hand to present the honors or perform. Think Elton John, Stevie Nicks, Carrie Underwood, Queen Latifah, Brandi Carlile, Dave Matthews, LL Cool J, and Sia. Some of the inductees are also expected to perform. And for the first time, the ceremony is streaming live tonight at 8 Eastern on Disney+. When it ends, Disney Plus will have the ceremony available on demand. Then ABC will air a special featuring performance highlights and standout moments on January 1st. There's a new host coming to late night TV soon, and she'll be the only woman and the youngest person hosting a late night network TV show. She'll be 30 as of her birthday tomorrow. Comedian Taylor Tomlinson will take over the time slot after Late Show with Stephen Colbert on CBS. It'll be called After Midnight. When announcing the new host on his show this week, Colbert said they'll need someone, quote, fun, likable, young, in touch with online trends, and available every night of the week. If you're not familiar with Tomlinson, she's become one of the most popular stand-up acts in the country with 2 specials on Netflix, and she's on a global tour right now. After Midnight will air starting in early 2024. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a quick break for our sponsor, Lumi. Lumi is the world's best whole-body deodorant. It is now my personal favorite deodorant, but if you want more proof, Lumi has it. It's clinically proven to control odor-causing bacteria everywhere for 72 hours. I love that it's aluminum-free and paraben-free, goes on easy and clear, and most importantly, has worked to keep me smelling fresh and clean. You can choose from a variety of fresh, bright scents as well, like clean tangerine, lavender sage, or toasted coconut. I even love their body wash as well as their on-the-go deodorant wipes that are great for anywhere on your body, from pits to feet and beyond. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers, too. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like that mini body wash and deodorant wipes I mentioned, and free shipping. And as a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a Lumi starter pack with the code NEWSWORTHY at LumiDeodorant.com. That's LUME deodorant.com. It equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you visit LumiDeodorant.com and use the code NEWSWORTHY. Okay, now back to Feel Good Friday. A program in Minnesota has proven one thing for sure: food brings people together. It's called Stories Behind the Menu. 4 times a year, up to 150 people gather around big white cloth tables, eat chef-prepared meals, talk to the strangers next to them, and build ties across cultures. It was started by Shay Sandifer, who also founded an organization to promote racial equality. A couple of years ago, she was at an event talking to an indigenous chef who serves food from indigenous cultures. And she learned his restaurant is on the land that once belonged to his ancestors. She found the conversation so eye-opening that she decided to start Stories Behind the Menu with chefs like him from a variety of culinary backgrounds. Those chefs talk to guests about the dinner's place in their own personal and cultural journeys. And then people get to eat, though they're not allowed to sit next to the person they came with. The goal is to use food to open up genuine conversations and connections between strangers who might otherwise never even meet. And now Sandifer says her next goal is to take Stories Behind the Menu national, with dinners around the country or maybe even the world. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode. We're talking about the research linking shows you might find on HGTV with how Americans now feel about their own homes. And of course, we'll be back on Monday with your next news roundup. For now, thank you so much for listening and have a great weekend.